Watching EME, and this is Alexis K for a Tuesday of what? Transformation and transparency. Because in order for us to continue to move forward in our sanctification process, we've got to continue to be transparent, and we've got to be ready to transform depending on how those transparent conversations go. And there's no one willing to be more transparent with us than God himself. So we've been talking about the fruit of the Spirit these last 2 months, and this week we're talking about gentleness. And when I think about gentleness, you all, I just mentally, I picture the gentleness that a mother has with an infant, because, infants are usually, very feeble, very fragile. And gentleness, every time I think of it, I think of a mother's touch. And when I was thinking and meditating this week on gentleness and how the Spirit helps us to be gentle, it made me think of Romans 12, where it talks about not conforming to this world, but continuing to renew our minds. And in this world, gentleness can be seen as weakness. We are often taking on these very hard personas, these very hard to get to, very rough and even a little angry and aggressive. We've taken on some of this rough behavior simply from the world, because it's, a dog eat world, that either you're going to get them before they get you, or, before you get got. And that is not how kingdom people live. But because we live among it and around it, that we often take on that rough and tough kind of demeanor, when we should be taking on and yielding to that, taking on, when the old man dies, then we take on the Spirit of Christ, that we should be taking on that quality of being kind and being soft and mild-mannered, and even being tender. Whereas the world does not breed that in us, God himself is within us, bringing forth that gentleness, that kindness, that good manner, that slow to anger, where we wouldn't have that all on our own. And even based off of the external situations that we go through with the world, it can make you very, very rough and tumble, a little hard, when you don't need to be cold. The Bible keeps telling us that if the salt loses its saltiness, so if you lose your kindness and you lose your good manners and you lose your tenderness, then where else would it be in the world if you are not that? And sometimes being that submissive, that word that hurts our flesh, when we are that way, we see ourselves being taken advantage of. But that puts us in the place with Christ. It puts us in the same walking space and journey that Christ had. And we keep saying that we want to follow Christ. So as we continue moving on in our sanctification process, I am encouraging you all to stay gentle. Men, be gentle. It is fine to be kind and well-mannered. Ladies, it is fine to be kind and well-mannered and tender and even sensitive, because these are things that the Spirit is producing to allow us to be so much different than what the world is showing. So lean into that guiding of the Spirit to be tender, even when you might initially want to be rough and tough. Lean in and allow God to continue to transform you with his spirit of gentleness. I love you all. I'm praying for you always. I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful Tuesday, you all.